Hi, Alan Schimmel, DevOps.com here at DevOps Enterprise Summit, London 2016, joined by Lee Sexton of Thomas Cook. Lee, welcome.
Welcome, nice to see you.
Yes. Lee, you just recently presented, and you had an interesting title for your presentation. It was,
Continuous delivery in a primeval environment.
yes, it was. And what was a little different about it, Lee, as you mentioned, was, we've heard speaker after speaker give this is our DevOps transformation story, but yours was a little different. Why?
Yeah, it's for that simple reason is we all talk about our transformations, we talk about how cool the tools we've used, but we normally only done that in a small subset of the business. What I wanted to bring out into the topics was once you've built that and you've moved it, you need to get your legacy systems, which is behind everything, to move with you. I like to use the usual Google, Amazon slide because that's what everyone talks about. But as an opposite, which is that's what everyone talks about. But actually, we're all high street retail businesses normally.
Mm-hmm.
We've all got a digital presence, and that presence has grown. But it was originally hooked onto the back end systems because we had a nice shiny front end, and everything behind it was old and legacy. And I wanted to bring that journey into here as well as how do we get the our legacy systems into a better way of working so our digital systems can move as fast as they need to move because most of the constraints on our front end is our back end.
So, Lee, when we talk about this, are we talking about sort of systems of record versus systems of engagement? Or are we talking mainframe, big iron, or what exactly?
A bit of both. So there is the records, and there is also big mainframes in the background as well.
Mhm.
There's a multitude of technologies. As I mentioned in the talk, it's sometimes you'll need a clairvoyant to find out who wrote it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and they may not be alive. That's actually a topic, Lee. I was talking with Rosalind Radcliffe of IBM earlier
Yeah.
today, and she obviously works with their System Z, their
Yeah.
mainframe stuff, and she was she was really railing against the fact that we've become almost content to say that we're going to let these front end systems use all the shiny new tools,
Yeah.
SEMs and so forth, and but yet we're perfectly content to let some of the older stuff just kind of mosey along with the tools that they've been using, and it doesn't work for the business, right?
Yeah.
We need to bring this up. The whole business needs to be moving. So what are you doing at Thomas Cook around that?
It's a very early days, very early part of the journey. We're looking at our legacy systems. We're looking at our legacy ways of working.
Hmm.
And actual group ways of working, as I mentioned, is we all talk about how we want to make changes fast. It's not necessarily that the business wants to make changes fast. It's that we want to use tools to do funky, cool things. So it's really about the journey there. It's about how do you actually build out absolute great standards that mean you can actually now start shipping them across the whole business because it ticks all the boxes that everybody feels comfortable with. And you look at the legacy systems in the background and you're looking at those in a really dynamic way, which is what is it we want them to do? How do we make them do this? And how do we make them fit for purpose? Because our front end systems, as pretty as they look, are worthless without the back end system.
Absolutely.
And that's the real key thing here is that we as businesses move and transform, they start off with a presence online. And I think that's where most shops started off. They had some form of presence online. There we've got an online presence. Then one day they woke up and went, oh my God, the online presence is now bigger than the retail or the shop presence or the shop front presence. And then they have to wake up and go, we now need to change things in the background. The difficulty is you're not building a new shiny tool. You're actually trying to update something that's completely tied into everything you do. It's that spider's web across everything your
Yes.
business does. And it's not the 6 month project that building a .com is. It's a real big project. It's a real big pain.
It is, and it's an ongoing, right?
Yeah,
It's not going to be done.
no.
Lee, let me ask you another question, though. And, as we've heard time and time again in DevOps, it's not just the tool, it's the tools,
Yeah.
it's the culture as well. How do you, beyond just finding the new ways of dealing with some of the legacy stuff, how do you, working with the people to change the culture, to change the thought around this?
Absolutely, and the way we work with the people it's a lot of the time is talk's good. We can talk a good game. We can tell
it's
them
cheap.
about it is very cheap, yeah. We can talk that whole thing up about how we're going to do this, how we can do that, how we can enable them. But actually, they want to see how that's working. So sometimes you're fortunate. We're quite fortunate that we have a very good model around our digital scope, and that looks good and it moves fast. And other parts of the business think, I want to move that quickly. Other parts of the business need to move that quickly because if they don't, they're blocking digital, for example. But it is hearts and minds because you sit around the table with people, change management, security, and it is a different world for them, and it's scary because you're asking them to go from a place where there's a lot of approvals and a wait list and a time to just simply going, well, I don't get to actually say yes or no, it just happens, and to that type of world. And a lot of that is just it is just bringing them along on it slowly. You cannot force feed it. You have to bit by bit, whether it's a particular application or a product area, bring it in there, prove it works, move on to the next one. Basically, there is no great big magic wand. We're doing it all now. It's got to be bit by bit, and it's got to be where people are comfortable. There's no good trying to do this to a system where they're just really not comfortable. That's going to happen.
Got it. Lee, let me pivot a little bit to the DevOps Enterprise Summit here. What made you feel compelled to present?
There's two things with it. I spent a lot of time in the last year, probably about a year and a half ago, I went to a few meetups, a few conferences, and then the last year I spent an awful lot of time just head down, being busy, working through things. And when Gene approached me about speaking at the conference, I thought this is actually a really good time to actually reflect on what we're doing, what I'm doing, because again, it's very easy just to get on with something. And actually, I'll watch back the videos. I will get to reflect on where I am, and it'll be it'll be a self-teaching for myself as well. And listening to other people is always great. There's some it's always good to go and listen to what other people are doing.
Especially
and why they're doing it. Yeah.
You know, we were talking earlier with Jonathan Fletcher from Hiscox, and he said, you know, he used to present a lot at these kinds of things, but he frankly felt like he was giving more than he was receiving. Yeah. And that the nice thing about the DevOps Enterprise Summit here this year is you're getting back, right? Just by being immersed in the environment with a lot of these people, you're getting back more than you give in a lot of these cases. And I think that it makes it worthwhile, right? You want to participate.
You do, and I think and the oxymoron. I'm not a great fan of the wording DevOps, but it's what the culture's called.
Jonathan.
And that's what the culture's called. But it is a community. It is a bunch of people wanting to do things different. It is a bunch of people who want to make differences, and I think that's true without everybody you meet. They all, at a particular point of their journey, they're all doing it in a particular way. But they've all got one common goal, which is actually to enable business to get to market faster, because that's what we all have to do.
Absolutely. Well, we can't change the name because I'd have to go get a new domain.
Yeah. Okay.
So we're going to leave it at DevOps if it's okay with you. But Lee, thank you very much for telling your story here today to our listeners and audience. Thank you for appearing at DevOps Enterprise Summit. Continued success. We want to hear more maybe in the future about progress you're making.
Perfect. And thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Bye now.
This is Alan Schimmel for DevOps.com. Thank you.